This build utilizes Rampage, Herald of Ice, and Walking Calamity to clear. It has high damage, high AoE, and Lightning Warping into Herald of Ice pops are extremely satisfying. It can also do some auto bomb and clear. Perfect for when you trip after sprinting. Let's first talk about our main skill, Rampage. Rampage is a channeling skill. When you hold down the button, you charge forward, constantly slamming the ground with every step. We socket in Embedder, which converts all gain as extra into cold. This allows us to trigger Herald of Ice constantly when running into packs. The speed does not scale with your attack speed, but with your movement speed. But the attack speed does make the startup time faster. After channeling for 3.5 seconds, a slowly drain rage until it runs out, and the channeling will stop. The rate of the drain can be lessened with cost efficiency, such as Deep Trance or Efficiency Support Gem. To build Rage, we use Ferocious Roar, which grants us 3 rage per power of nearby enemies. We then socket in Raging Cry to give an additional 4 rage per 5 power, and allocate the Roaring Cry's passive node on our weapon swap, so that our war cries always have a minimum power of 10. This setup gives us around 38 rage per war cry, and to bypass the skill's 8-second cooldown, we socket in Enrage war cry, allowing us to spend 15 rage to ignore the cooldown, essentially letting us spam Ferocious Roar to generate infinite rage. This is also how we maintain Walking Calamity. Walking Calamity requires Glory to be used, and Glory is built by gaining excess rage. When activated, we gain 40 extra fire damage and constantly deal massive fire damage around us. The damage is extremely potent, and when paired with repulsion, this build can be somewhat of an auto bomber. For the buffs we are getting, we are using Rend, Maul, and Devour. Rend gives us 50 damage gain as extra lightning, and these skills are further supported by Blazing Critical, gaining extra fire damage buff on crit, and rapid attacks and prolonged duration for a smoother gameplay. Here's how the start of the map looks like. We devour the Bell, Rend, Ferocious Roar, and pop Walking Calamity. During maps, weave Maul before using Rampage to proc Bata's Vengeance, and keep using Rend when the buff expires. There's no need to devour any other bells because we are generating power charge from Profane Ritual from cast on crit. Which brings us to the key items and purchase that the build needs. First, a cast on crit Absent Amulet. This gives the skill for free without using any spirit or attribute requirements, which is very much needed because we are tight on spirit costs. We socket in Lightning Warp to help steer the awkward movement from Rampage, and Profane Ritual for charge generation. The most important purchase of the build is at Series Communion. This makes the skill reserve life instead of spirit, which allows us to utilize the benefits from being on low life. Mainly, the 60% increased damage from Killer Instinct near the Monk Tree, 70% from Dire Strike 2, and 50% from Dire Strike 1. We are not using Constricting Command or Crown of Ice, so most of our increased damages are from being low life. It also grants us access to observed skill gems we use on our damaging skills, and Pain Attunement for 30% more crit damage. To do this, we socket at Series Communion into Blasphemy with Repulsion, and we can further reserve life by socketing in Dire Strike 1, along with allocating the Keystone Lord of the Wilds, resulting in 95% life reservation. To proc Herald of Ice, we're using Loreweave. With the mod, enemy shield by your hits can be shattered. You can use a pulsar Klein ring instead if you want to use another body armor, but I find it much easier to get rarity using a rare ring. With Loreweave, we can also use this really cool rune to easily cap our resistance since the downside doesn't apply when you're wearing Loreweave. We also need to break armor to chain Herald of Ice, so we need to anoint either Dangerous Blossom or Material Solidification for fist gain as extra. Next, crit scaling. We are scaling crit thanks to the Ascendancy node, Way of the Stone Fist. This node converts Maligaro's Glove to give us up to 40% fixed chance to crit for attack. This is huge because it allows us to use weapon with low base crit chance, but incredibly high raw damage. By fixing our crit chance this way, we can make use of the high value crit nodes near the monk tree, entirely skip crit chance nodes on the tree, and picking up Resolute Reach and Throat Seeker with no downsides. Since we skip crit chance nodes, we can afford to travel all the way to the other side of the tree to the important keystones. On the way, we pick up skill effect duration, geo slots, and extra defenses. On weapon set 1, we pick up Warcry nodes. Warcry speed is nice, and Roaring Cries is a must. And on our weapon set 2, we allocate damage nodes, AoE, and crit. I'm using the unique Mandragora on weapon set 1 for extra skill speed buff when spending rage, and for more skill effect duration. The skills used on weapon set 1 are Ferocious Roar, Rend, and Devour. The rest are on weapon set 2. Onto the defenses. We are using Energy Shield, Armor, and Mind Over Matter. Since life is no longer a hit pool, ES and Mind Over Matter helps increasing our max hit. We get our max mana from rings and from scepters. We then use Mana Remnant. This allows mana to overflow max, and grants recovery on killing or critting a target affected by an elemental ailment, which we can easily do from Ignite with Walking Calamity and Shield or Freeze from our skills. The Scepter we're using should be one that grants a Purity skill. These gives resistance, and it allows targeting support gem without costing spirit. Try not to buy a corrupted one, because you cannot use a perfect jewelers on it. Lastly, I'm using a Mage Blood with Quicksilver. It is not a requirement for this build, but you can map way faster with it. To push the speed further, I am also using From Nothing with Wild Pack, Tegrot's Gaze on my boots, and Rune of the Shades on my tattoo socket. I have attached my POB in the description. There's a lot of stuff and I couldn't cover everything, so feel free to ask if it's confusing. Thank you for watching and bye bye.